there's something everybody can do. Like I said, everybody can buy a $20 silver piece. Everybody can afford 20 bucks. But will they do it? No. They'll be at Starbucks sucking it down instead. Anything that's been new in the last 20 years will be gone in 20 years. What's going to survive is old. So everybody thinks, well, technology is going to make it. What survived is old. It's the reason gold and silver will survive is because it's old. Bitcoin may not survive because it's new. So I'm not telling you what to buy, I'm just telling you how to think. So Nassim Taleb has a book called Anti-Fragile, which is good.
Excellent read.
Yeah, it's fantastic. He's a smart guy.
Oh, yeah.
But he writes about, how we have in school today, we're raising snowflakes. You have to have safe rooms. You can't trigger, you can't say anything, So we're raising a bunch of snowflakes. And he says the guy that's going to survive is somebody who's not fragile, anti-fragile. So what he says is this: whatever doesn't kill you will make you stronger. So he says when you go to the gym and you pump weights, you push 100 pounds, that means the next time you push, you might go 105. So bad times will make the strong stronger. And bad times will make the snowflakes weaker.
What is the biggest difference between fear today versus fear 50 years ago versus fear 100 years ago versus fear 20 years ago? Isn't this a common thing? Like when market does well, economy does well, a few people are prepared for it. Most people kind of sit around, don't do anything about it. What's changed? And is that going to be happening 50 years from now, 100 years from now, where people capitalize and most don't?
Today, when I refer to 2008, most people remember 2008. Do you know what I mean? That's when Lehman went down, Bear Stearns went down.
38% drop.
Yeah, they all remember it. But when I started Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the only thing they had was the Depression. I came out in 1997, Rich Dad, Poor Dad came out. And their only reference points was the Depression. And none of the people I talked to remember the Depression. So the fear today, I think people are a little bit wiser, is because they do remember 2008, and they do remember 2000. So 2008, 2000, 2008, and here we are today. So I think most people are at least kind of tuned in. I hope it doesn't come down, but I'm afraid it will. That's what I have to say.
Most people are more tuned in today because it was only 12 years ago when the last market crash happened. I remember 08. 08 was pretty ugly. We started our agency a year later in 09. And
that's
AIG,
the smartest thing you could have done.
Yeah, believe me, it benefited us because we got a contract with AIG at the time and a few insurance companies, and we started growing, but everybody was scared. And a part of, the business for us is fear sharpens listening. If you're able to monetize on fear, you can really do some stuff when the market changes.
But I want to say what you did was really, really smart, because the best time to start a business is right after a crash. I made more money after 2008 than I ever in my whole entire life, because everybody was hiding like little cockroaches.
You made more money after 2008 than your entire life.
Yeah, so when, here I'm talking about the coming depression, everybody says, oh, you're such a pessimist, I go, no, I'm excited. I get sexually stimulated thinking about all the bargains that are going to be on the street, I mean, it's going to be bargains everywhere. But everybody else, oh, you're pessimistic. No, I'm actually optimistic. So anyway, so you're very smart. When I study business. Guys who start right after a crash do very well most of the time. You see, it's not just money. We're at the end of the industrial age. And the industrial age was, when an entrepreneur was in the industrial age, and the entrepreneurs created jobs. For example, Henry Ford, when he started Ford Motor, he created millions of jobs, thousands of jobs. Sure. This is the information age. Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, he said we should all read this book called The End of Power. The end of power is what's happening today. It is the end of the American empire. What's going to happen from here is what spooks everybody, and nobody really knows.
How can you explain that to people, and then what do they need to know about fake assets to protect themselves, especially from this upcoming crash or crisis that's going to happen?
So in 1971, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. So what did that mean? That meant the U.S. government, the U.S. Treasury, could now print money. So the U.S. Treasury would sell a bond to the Fed. Over here would be the Bank of England, Bank of Japan, ECB, and all this. So in 71, it was the US, not anybody else, basically screwed the world economy. So rather than fix the economy, they just did this. So things were fine. They fixed the economy. Inflation went through the roof. There's a dollar sign on it and like this.
They're pumping money into the system.
So 87, there was, the real estate, everything's getting expensive. Inflation's going crazy. This is the 80s.
Right.
87 crash, big crash. Did anything happen? No, nothing happened. They just. So 87, it went like this, and then there was the LTCM plus the Southeast Asian crash, the Rupiah crash, and all this.
Yeah, in the end of the 90s.
So what did Greenspan do? It was the Greenspan put, right? He says, oh, don't worry. We'll give the banks all the money they want so you won't crash. So the banks and Treasury and the central bank, the Fed and Bank of England, they're like keeping this thing on. So everything's inflated now.
They're pushing money into the system to prop it up every time.
Fake money.
Fake money.
This is fake money
Right.
going in. So then in 2000, the dot-com crash hits. It goes. So Greenspan kind of panics and he says, oh my God, we better keep this thing going because that was a pretty big pop,
Yeah, I was there.
So 2008, that's when everybody was into derivatives and, pumping this baby up. And it did nearly come down. Some Lehman came down and Bear Stearns was wiped out. And it was like this. So what did Bernanke and those guys do? More. So after 2008, they just kept pumping it, and it's getting worse. So now we have the stock market, this one area of the economy, all-time highs, floating on fake money. Real estate, I don't know how people can afford to live. In New York, I was looking at a condo for $55 million. Real estate in Silicon Valley, you can't afford to live there. And then all these companies started borrowing money, so the economy's good, and unemployment's low, and all this. They say there's no inflation, but have you seen the price of food, real estate, and student loans, and medical? It's a bubble, So now what's going to happen is the baby boomers, my generation, are going to start to retire. And there's no money there. Social Security is broke, pensions are broke, the students are broke. They're screwing everybody with debt. So let me ask you a question. This is
making me nervous.
I know. This is called, not economics, this is called bubblenomics. But they'll never teach you this in school.
And why do they keep printing money? Because they want to save something.
Because it's an addiction. This is like heroin. The moment you take that one hit, they say, okay, I'll quit next week. And the economy gets worse, so they go. Trump gave us a tax cut in America. This thing gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So what happened in 2008, they stopped it by printing money. So they call it the Great Recession. But they didn't really fix anything. Derivatives went from 700 trillion to 1.2 trillion today. Twice as much. And that is net. Doesn't tell the whole story. So when the recession hit, the PhD standard came in. That was Bernanke, and then Yellen. The PhD said, they have PhDs. Well, it's no different than long-term capital, LTCM. They had Nobel Prize winners, people like my poor dad, academics, So anyway, this is what's going on in the world economy today. So the baby boomers are going to retire now. Student loans are bust. So, do you have to be an economist to say what's going to happen? Because we're fighting a 12-year war now. Entitlements are going through the roof. National debt to GDP is 109 in America, 109%. 90% is too late. We have to keep printing now. So this is called bubblenomics, and this is what's going to happen.